What's going on, people? Southampton 3, Tottenham 3, the post-match fan show, the post-match post-mortem. Oh, Danny. What?
It's terrible, mate.
It's terrible, terrible. Eric Dyer comes out after the game. Do you want to know what he said?
What did he say, Ron?
Sloppy mistakes. We lost possession early. We didn't have control of the game at 3-1 when we should have. Really poor goals. We shouldn't let them back in the game. They lost both their centre-backs and we should cause them a lot more problems. We only have ourselves to blame. There will be lots of ups and downs for everybody fighting for top 4 and relegation. It will definitely go down to the last couple of weeks of the season. We need to find some consistency.
Do you know what really pisses me off about that statement?
Yeah.
It's the fact that he says it's going to go down to the last day of the season, right? If you had a winner's mentality, right, you in your head, you'd be like, let's wrap this up as early as possible. Let's beat as many teams as we can beat. And then we don't have to worry about going to the last day. And like a month before, you could have wrapped up 4th place already. Yep. But no, Eric Dyer, it's going to go to the last day. Yes, because you're fucking shit. It pisses me off with that.
Look, the match stats. 50-50 possessions. Southampton more shots than Tottenham. Southampton more shots on target than Tottenham. Southampton more corners than Tottenham. But we're sitting there saying we deserve to win that game. I think Southampton deserved that point. They lost both their centre-backs. Yeah, we made some stupid substitutions, and I don't care what anyone says. We made stupid substitutions, and ultimately we tried to sit back for the last 20 minutes with those players who are absolutely awful. And then with 4 minutes to go, we bring Sarr and Emerson Royale on, and we move Skip into right wing. I mean, it's just crazy decisions. I get it if we were playing 5-3-2 to try and preserve the win, but I don't think we're even trying to do that. We were just replacing like for like and playing 3-4-2-1 or 3-4-3 or whatever we were supposed to be playing. So, look, it was crazy. And who to think? 37th minute, we were sat here earlier saying Ben Davies has come off, and that's what's cost us the game in defence. Yeah, because 2 goals down Perisic's side. Dyer being Dyer. Yeah. I mean, look.
The worst thing is with that as well. He's like saying we should do better, but no, mate, you should do better. You should fucking do better. Not the whole team. Yeah, the whole team, of course, they need to do better, but he never takes account for when he performs bad ever. He always looks to blame other people. I fucking hate his mentality so much. I want him gone in this club. The sooner people like him leave this club, the better.
And look, we all sit there and we're not, they're everyone that's, there's Levy in, Levy out, Conte in, Conte out. But at some point, some people need to take responsibility, take those glasses off, and need to start putting some blame on Conte, because he made that decision to sit back. 3-1, sits back, and it cost us the game. I'm sorry, there's no other way. We should have been going to get a 4th. Going to get, or at least looking like we didn't, these players aren't good enough to sit back, are they, Danny?
No. This is what we were saying. We were saying, why don't they go a bit more offensive? Or why take Skip and your best central midfielder today and put him on the right wing? It makes no sense. It makes absolute no sense.
But look, it's I don't know what to say anymore with this football club. It's been an awful. But Southampton are bottom of the league, people. Regardless of these players, we should be beating the team that is bottom of the league, who's been in the bottom half of bottom 3 since November, who've conceded 11 goals or scored 11 goals at home. And today they score 3. This is nonsense. This is a team that we all sit there and go, oh, this is this and this is that. This is against a team that's nonsense. They're just irrelevant. They're going to get relegated probably. And they deserved that point today. And look, we can sit there and go, it wasn't a VAR, it wasn't a penalty. It wasn't. But at the same time, on reflection, we also need to hold our hands up and say, that's not what cost us 3 points today. That's not what cost us 3 points today. Southampton, bottom of the league, I'll say it again, bottom of the league, more shots on target, more corners than a team that was potentially going 3rd today. It's just not good enough.
No, it's not. This is a fact of the reality is not good enough, and we shouldn't be relying on VAR to get us out of to get us 3 points. We should have played a lot better than we did. It's as simple as that. Yeah, it's the same kind of story we've had all season with players making mistakes. Again, as soon as Davis went off, we just looked unstable on that left-hand side. We just
Yeah, and that's how funny is that? Ben Davis goes off in the 37th minute, and we look worse. We score the goal to go 3-1 up. 2 minutes later, we concede.
Yeah,
it's just
and you know,
schoolboy.
I want to make a point about Sarr as well, because I think with Sarr, I don't want people to start giving him shit for that thing. That his kind of, people might say it's a mistake, but if you actually look at it, he was watching the ball. People might say, I know someone was saying that maybe he could have chested it or something like this, but look, he's a young midfielder, right? And the guy comes out of nowhere, flying in, like jumping with 2 feet nearly, and he just takes a swing, and it looks like it's hit him, but it hasn't touched him at all. And the player and gets given a penalty for that. It shouldn't be a penalty. It wasn't. He didn't even tackle the bloody player. So I just don't understand it. But
anyway, there's going to be plenty of people coming on to have their say. Let's get the first person on. He's going to be talking about positivity, like last time. I can't wait to hear this. It's the Joracle.
Hey guys,
how you doing, Jory?
How you doing,
I'm
Jory?
good. I'm good. Yeah, I'm positive. I got some samples of the cherry lager for next season. So, you should be looking forward to that for sure.
Have you sent over your idea to Mr. Levy to see if he approves?
Me and Levy, we texting daily now. So yeah.
So he sees the dollar signs, Jory. He sees a good idea when he sees one.
Exactly. We think the same, Danny. That's we have the same haircut and the same inside as well, you know. So, but yeah.
So
how you guys doing, by the way?
I'm all right. I mean, today is another day as a Tottenham fan. To be honest with you, standard procedure. Really, we mess it up once again. And you're probably going to get a lot of people blaming everyone again. I think today, I want to hear what you think, because I think for me, I think Conte made some bad decisions today for substitutions and tactics. What he did with putting Skip on the right wing, I thought that was a ridiculous decision. But yeah, I want to hear how you're feeling and your thoughts on the game.
Yeah, I was listening to you guys. Yeah, I was listening to what you were saying. I can't disagree really, but I do think it's kind of with Conte's decision. I feel it's kind of almost similar to the Sarr thing or whatever. It's like he makes these decisions. They're not the best, but normally you wouldn't get punished for it.
That's true.
But this, of course, being Spurs, you know, you can. You know, if there's a chance of us getting punished, we're getting punished, you know. So that's just how it goes, you know. But I did understand a little bit of like one thing that really I was surprised about was exactly because Skip was on a yellow, and he played well, but he also mistimed a lot, you know. So he was kind of playing risky, you know. So I was kind of surprised that he didn't sub him off. And to be honest, what I wanted to see was to see Emerson in for Perisic. You know, if you want to shore up the game, that's what you should have done. You know, so I can definitely give some tactical knocks on Conte there. You know, but and I do think exactly what we're seeing. You know, for me, the man of the match was Foster by far. To be honest, you know,
that's a good shout.
We should have lost by a lot more. We should have lost that game, and by 2 goals at least, if it wasn't for him, you know. So, and having Foster there, it's such an upgrade for Lloris. Not that Foster is a world-class goalie or anything. He's not bad at all, but he has his weaknesses. But what he is he has some self-assurance. You know, he's not a scared goalkeeper like Lloris has been for way too long, you know, and he's not in that dynamic between Dyer, Davis, and now Langley and Perisic, which is we're shit. We all know we're shit, and
Yeah.
I don't want to have the blame. Here you take the blame. I'm not gonna
Yeah.
take the blame.
Yeah.
So they kind of shy away from the difficult moments, all of them. And if you had plopped Emerson in there instead of Perisic, you have a guy that's not like that.
Yeah.
Whatever else you can say about him, he's definitely not that. So
Yeah. I agree.
yeah, yeah. But
What do
I
you?
also think like
Yeah. Go
in
on.
general, I do completely agree with you guys. I think we've been saying it for a
Yeah.
while. You can't sit back with this defense. It's not capable of it,
No.
and that's definitely on Conte, But the other thing is also, guys, it's just like when you make, like, as a manager, you need to be able to just do the basic things of tactics and games, and this is very basic, that what Conte is doing. And like I can see that even though Conte should know better, it's kind of like, well, if I can't go 1, 2, 3, 4, and I have to go 1, 2, 5, 9, 16, it's never going to be cohesive. I can't work with that. I'm still going to try and work as a manager. So I'm not trying to defend them, but I'm just saying, like, if you don't have just like basic tenets of a football team on the level that you're playing at, then it becomes darn near impossible for any manager, I think, which is proved, of course, through
Yeah.
the last couple of years. So yeah.
Yeah.
But
I,
I would have wanted them to go for, definitely just keep going for gold. That would have been the better option in my view.
yeah.
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 Yeah, I think that's the frustrating thing, right? We we went 3-1 up. We sat there and we went, okay, this game should be done now.
I thought it was done there. For
And then just 2 minutes after that, Southampton scored. And then look, I know, not you, Jory, but I know that the people will be saying, "Oh well, VAR, that was shocking." Okay, but did we do enough to win that game? We probably didn't.
Yeah.
And
No. Exactly. I
this is
mean.
the team. This is the team that's bottom of the league, and that's what's the awful thing. We had, again, every time it's happened this season, last season, the previous seasons. Every time we have an opportunity, we could have gone. We could have won today. Been in third place for a couple of weeks with the international break going on. All the other teams are playing each other around, Manchester United, Newcastle, West Ham have got something to play for. Brighton are playing Brentford. Newcastle then got to play Liverpool, playing Chelsea. All these teams are playing each other, and we just have a chance, and we just go and blow it again.
Yeah. I mean, to be honest, the first half especially, I rarely have seen as disjointed football as was going on, but for both teams. I've never seen anything like it, really. And 4 injuries, like 4 serious injuries, it looked like, so and many other players like humping about and stuff like that. And also, to be honest, I kind of suspect that he pulled Kulu also because he did get that knock and he was worried, maybe, like that. I do think maybe that's a factor of it, but I would, of course, putting Skip into that position is a very, very strange decision for
it's a
sure.
strange decision when you've got Dan Juma and Lucas Moura sitting
Yeah,
on the bench
exactly.
who
Dan
actually.
Juma would be the exactly obvious choice, or just go to the 3-5-2,
Yeah, which is
and
what we thought
play
they were going to do.
Son and Kane up top, and
Yeah.
and shore up the defense even more, So it was definitely weird. I think what I'm happy to see is, like, Conte is very animated, and I was also really happy to see how pissed off and frustrated the players were.
Yeah.
Both Ben Davies, Kane, and stuff, because this is like what I'm thinking. If we look away from the result, I'm thinking, like, if these guys can use this period, games like this, to get like a step further along in maturity and understand it's in their hands and it's about them not being committed to the death and trying to get these things over the line and just trying to work with whatever circumstances they're presented with, then we have a chance of whether it be continuing with Conte or for somebody else, we have a chance of at least getting over this famous Spursiness in our culture, because this is what's lacking, is that it's way too okay not to deliver, and that, like, we need to, like Mourinho said and Conte said many times, and we all know, it's like you need to be darn near suicidal or murderous if you're not delivering. That's this mental state you need to be in, and that's just Tottenham is too cozy for that. But I saw some really kind of, yeah, they were seemed pretty pissed, all of them, and I was happy to see that, because this is exactly the play and performance and game that you want your players to be really unhappy with, and if nothing else, then be pissed enough to promise themselves that they'll do even better next time. So and also, yeah, like I said, like having Conte animated is at least, because whatever you wish for, if you're Conte out or whatever, I think we should all now group together, support both the manager and the squad to try and at least get that fourth spot or better, and have as good as a possibility of doing something interesting or better next season. At least giving us a chance to progress, even if we're gonna Spursy it up. I'm
Yeah,
sure,
Jory, just on Eric Dyer's
I
comments. So
agree.
listen to this. So sloppy mistakes. We lost possession easily. We didn't have control of the game at 3-1 when we should have. Really poor goals. We shouldn't let them back into the game. They lost both their centre backs, and we should cause them a lot more problems. We only have ourselves to blame. What are your
Yeah.
thoughts on that?
Well, my thought is, it's interesting how it's always the same players that are quick to have comments in the. The thing is, and this in life, and I certainly know this in filming. The people that talk the most are usually compensating for not doing that much. And
Yep.
not being that valuable. And that's definitely the case with these players. Of course, I agree with those comments, but hey, Dai, I don't see anything in your game that supports those words. In
Yep.
fact, I've always seen you run away from difficult moments and situations. So, yeah, listen to
Do
your own advice then, at least. So,
Do you think it's a
but
like
yeah,
a mentality issue as well? Because what was the
for
other thing you
sure,
said about?
it's all mentality in my
Yeah.
my mind. And I think the mentality, and I think also Conte has alluded to it. It's also a Kane mentality. It's definitely a Son mentality now. Like, I'm semi worried that Son is doing a Delhi now. Like, he's
Mm,
over indulging in the Burberry
yeah.
stuff and all of
Yeah.
that. And I know that he's not gonna do a Delhi. He's not gonna become the full on nightclub guy that Delhi
Yeah.
was, but still, it's kind of like, if you're failing or perceive yourself as failing in the football, and you get all this attention and positive success, basically, in your commercial career or advertising career, it's very easy to, just for your ego, to kind of overindulge in that, and at the expense of the football. And I'm kind of worried a little bit, even though I've seen. I've really do feel Son is very close to getting back, because Son, like, it's very often, it's darkest before the sunrise and all of that.
Mm,
It's He's very, like, his touch and stuff. He's very close to getting it on, I think. But I thought that for a long time now, and it's not quite happening in yet. But at least tactically and positionally, he's now starting to do the runs in behind again,
yeah.
and that has to do with the lack of Perisic now. There's something, and also Porro has been a great upgrade for Sonny, as we saw today. Like,
I
like
agree.
Yeah.
those crosses are gonna be, they're gonna pay dividends sooner or later. So
Do
yeah,
you do you think it's a bit before? I think my last question, I think, to you, Jory, is do you think it's going to be a bit of an issue with now Ben Davies, potentially he could have a bad injury. We don't know the extent of his injury or Richarlison's yet, and especially kind of the way Ben Davies has kind of worked. It seems to work better with Son on that left hand side. Do you think that's going to be a big issue if he's out for a while?
Yeah, I mean, Sonny and Ben Davies, they link up really nicely. And Ben Davies is, I don't actually think Ben Davies is a bad wing back. I don't think he should be our first choice, but I absolutely don't think he's a bad wing back at all. And I think Langley seems more sure when he's got Ben Davies in front of him. I mean, of course, obviously with Perisic as the alternative, that's obvious, but they seem to be, shoring each other up in a way that Perisic and Langley are not doing. So that's been my favorite combo. Has been Langley as the left centre back and Davies as the wing back. I think now if Davies is injured, it's not ideal, but I would want to have as a first choice. I would want to try and have Emerson then as the left wing back.
Yeah,
I agree.
100%, Jory. 100%, Jory. Right, Jory. There's loads of people coming on. It's nice and bright where you are. Go and get a nice bottle of wine and forget about Spurs for a couple of weeks.
All right, Barry. I'll do that. I wouldn't want to disappoint you. I'll put some cherry in there.
Exactly. Get it in there. Get
Jory,
it in there,
the best
Jory.
thing he said all night, mate.
Big up, Jory. Thanks, man.
See you later.
See you later, Jory. Great call from Jory, as always. Let's move on. And we have Brett.
How you doing, Brett?
I think you're on. Are you on mute, Brett? I think it's about Is he there?
I think he's got Stell's internet connection.
Yeah. Can you hear us?
He's just downing a pint.
Yeah.
And it's freezing.
Okay. Should we move on, Sammy? Let's move on.
Cheers, Brett.
Cheers, Brett. Here we go.
Let's bring on
the next guy. It's happy fella. I don't know what he's happy about. What's wrong with you? It's Marlon. How you doing, Marlon?
Big up, Marlon. How are you, man?
You good? How you both doing first? Let's do the niceties. How you both getting on?
Mate, I'm all right, mate. I'm all right. It's a fucking
good.
Football club, though. It's a joke.
Yeah, mate.
What football club? We're talking about football. No, I want to know when the next concert is.
Sorry, entertainment company. Entertainment company.
First of all, I just want to get this out, right? Because I know there's a lot of people Conte out, but I want the players gone before Conte, and I'm just going to explain quickly why. Right? He went defensive today, right? Which was totally the wrong tactics, right? He went defensive at 3-1. But are you sitting there and telling me that even when he goes defensive, that these players can't defend a 3-1 lead against the bottom side? Yeah. Come on. This is the bottom side and they still can't defend. No matter if they're good enough or not. This is a Premier League side, right? And these players still can't defend a 3-1 league. I'm looking at it going, these players are just not good enough at all, right? And I don't care that Conte got it wrong. I just care that the fact that it goes 3-1. It goes 3-1. And most managers probably would have done exactly the same thing and gone and tried to defend it.
Yeah, that's true.
Right?
Yeah.
Right? Let's be honest about the situation. Look at our away form in the last how many weeks, right? And yet it's Southampton, yeah? And they can't defend it. They're bottom. So you have to sit there and go, no, this is too much for these players now. I'm done. I'm completely done with these players first. Yeah, go on.
I just want to add to what you just said. You made a really good point. Is that being 3-1 up, most managers might have probably have done that. Where if they're struggling as well, they haven't got consistency. It's 77 minutes and you're 3-1 up or whatever it is, and you think, okay, let's try and. I thought as soon as that goal went in from Perisic, I thought that's game, set, and match. I thought that was done. But again, Spurs proved me wrong once again, and the Spurs in this came out.
Look. Sometimes Conte does confuse me as well, right? I'm not a big on Conte's tactics all the time. I think his substitutions can sometimes be a bit slow, but I'm looking at Southampton today. We haven't done well away from home. I think the last 4 games we just haven't won, right? We're 3-1 up, right? And I think I think even Poch, if we have struggled away, I think he would have actually tried to defend what we had.
Yeah, of course he would have.
But how can you sit there and go, okay, yeah, he's done and defended. We all sitting there going, I should have probably bought on this player, that player. But you sitting there and telling me that none of them could defend it. Are you seriously going to sit there and explain to me that these players can't defend a 3-1 lead against Southampton? Because if they can't, we have got some serious problems.
I agree.
And we know these. We've seen these problems week in, week out, and they're there. And I look at it like this, right? Everyone wants him gone. I can see most Spurs fans want him gone, right? But we got told to be patient, right? And we have to look at what the scum did down the road. How many times would Arteta? They were playing crap football as well. How many times did they want Arteta out? Once they finally gave him his players, look how they're expressing themselves. Look how they're celebrating every week. But yet, a lot of our fans and a lot of us, right, and I'm included, we think too much like Levy, and we're not gonna, right. Once the manager starts going through the rough patch, right, because Conte only been here 14 months. We want him gone. We're exactly thinking the same way as Levy. We just want him gone. Why can't we sit there, right, and just go through this manager? Because if look at Poch when he came, he had a terrible, not great 4 or 5 months, but then it started to turn, right? And then we had players to back him and go with him. But again, as soon as it's turned to shit under Poch, which is 5 years later, what's the first thing Levy does? Pulls the trigger, right? And a lot of fans at the time were like, "Oh, we're done with this, and we keep going through the same thing. A lot of us fans will not trust the manager once it starts going to shit, and that's the biggest problem I think we've got as Spurs fans. We don't have enough patience, and I think this is the first time in a long time we kind of need it. And a lot, I look at the way Inter played, Chelsea played. You look at previous Conte teams, they have played good football.
Yeah,
at some point they have played good football. So what's the difference between them teams and our team? And you sit there and go, well, he's still got the same players that Nuno had. He's still got the same players Jose's had. And he's still got the same players Poch had, who was sitting on Poch's bench. I bet you if Conte had a Toby Alderweireld and Jan Vertonghen,
100%.
Completely different.
100%.
Completely different. And this was where it went wrong for Poch, because they were starting to deteriorate and then we couldn't defend anymore. So it just ended up going to shit. Right? So you can blatantly see where the areas we need to fill, but if the ball ain't gonna back it, I'll throw this one out to you, right? I'll throw this out to both of you. If I said to you right now, especially before Christmas, where do you expect Spurs to finish this season? All right, and a lot of our fan base probably, and especially with knowing how Liverpool were doing and everyone else, you'd probably go 3rd or 4th.
Yeah, I would have said
right,
4th,
and fight for 3rd or 4th. Yeah, we're still there, right? There's still a lot of games left to play, right? And we are still there, unfortunately, right? Or fortunately, depends how you want to look at it, right? And Liverpool ain't winning away from home at the moment, so they're going to drop points. Newcastle, they draw a lot of games, so there's going to be points there. Our home record seems to be going okay, but again, we've got to sort out the away. And Man United might get dragged back into it. So today, we might see the point. I know we're 3-1 up, but it's a point that we didn't get when we got battered by Leicester, who were probably just, they were playing just as bad when we played them. So, and this is how we've got to look at the situation right now. I know a lot of people are not happy about the football, but he's still, we're still around about 4th. So it's what is everyone's expectations, and that's
I think for me, I think the thing for me, Marlon, is that if we're talking about patience and we're talking about a plan, we should have just stuck with Poch and gave him what he wanted. We've gone through 4 years or how many years now of managers, players, expense that we could have spent half the amount of money and given Poch what he wanted. The other thing that it comes down to is obviously, the other thing it comes down to is that you've got managers in there. And, it's like we think we're shopping in Waitrose or Harrods, but we're paying bloody Aldi and Lidl prices, right? And we're not getting what we want. If we want, we all know the players that we wanted and then what we got, right? So it's just ridiculous. But for me, Conte, we've spoken about this before. These managers must walk through the door. They get the Men in Black flipping treatment because they must know that Levy is going to do exactly the same thing as what he's done. Now, I'm not saying that. I think everyone needs to take a blame for this, right? Everyone needs a slice of that pie. Everyone needs to take responsibility. We cannot sit there and say, the board are at fault, the manager's at fault, the players are at fault, the academy's at fault. There's no philosophy, so what's the plan? There's no plan. Everyone's at fault, right? And I think this is what we need to realise. We can't, and I think no one knows what they want. Some fans want Conte. Some fans want Poch. Some fans want Levy out. Some fans want Levy in. Some fans want.
Where has all this stemmed from?
I get it. So it stems from the top. Yeah. But what I reckon, I'm not like conspiracy theories, what have you, but I guarantee you that there is someone from the club planting X, Y, Z things into different people's minds, into different people's Spurs fans, so that the Spurs fans don't know what they want, and then they know that they're not going to be united. Because if we were united in what we wanted, because none of us know what we want, then we get Levy out, right? We'd get the club that we wanted.
No, get him out. It's more put pressure on them.
Yeah, but. When everything happened with Sugar, what happened? Everyone was together. Sugar went. When everyone before, that person went. Yeah. And because the narrative, and I get it, the narrative will come down to the football. I think this football under Conte is shit. Whether that's his fault or the players' fault or Daniel Levy's fault, they're all to blame because the football is awful, right? Awful. No other team in the top 4, top 6 would go away to the bottom team in the league, 3-1 up, and lose and draw that game of football, regardless of VAR decisions or whatever. No one would go and do it. So I just don't know. That's the thing. It's what we all want. I don't know what I want. I just don't want what we got now, but I don't know what the solution is. You know? I want top 4, and like you say, Marlon, we are top 4. How are we top 4? I don't know.
What Marlon was saying about patience, right, is the problem is the fan base don't have patience and the board don't have patience because the boards historically, when shit starts to get bad, they sack the manager. So how are you ever going to have a long-term plan, right? If they're the reason why we don't have a plan in the first place, right? The one manager we had who somehow last 5.5 years, which is just insane at this club, right? With this ownership, was Poch. So you would think he was the man that they were going to back, right? And they didn't back him, right? And they've gone and spent £500 million, 4 different managers, and they're in the same boat as where we were before he.
Probably worse.
Yeah, and this is the thing. So we actually have to spend more money to get the level of quality of squad or first 11 that we had under Poch, right? Marlon said it himself. We don't have a Toby or a Jan, and we don't have a Kyle Walker. I mean, Porro, I think, is a top player. I think he's going to be a top player. We don't have a left wing back who's a quality. I know we've got Doji coming in, but we can't put all this pressure on that he's going to be our saving grace now on a 19, 20-year-old. And we don't have a Wanyama. We don't have a Dembele. We've got a Harry Kane that's aging, who we don't even know if he wants to be there next season. And yeah, it's a lot of money they're going to have to spend to try and build a team to fit someone else's kind of philosophy. But for me personally, I think that you give Conte like 3 or 4 top players in that first 11, I think he's achieving much better results than what we've seen this season, and we'll see better football because you'll have more confident players on the ball and in the first 11. I mean, we saw it again today. Perisic is, unfortunately, he's 34 years old, 35 years old, however old
Conte signing, though.
Right? Yeah, but he's a Conte signing, but he's still the top assister in the club, right? Yeah, I know people don't want to hear it, but he's the top assister in the club. People always say, "Oh, he's shit." Okay, why don't we take out the assist that he's given us this season and see how worse we'd be in the table without his assists, right? And this is the thing. Yes, he's shit, but he's shit defensively. He's crap defensively. He's not a defender. He is a winger. And the problem is that he doesn't have the legs to withstand the intensity of the Premier League, right? If you play him up top, like just as a predominant winger, right? I think he'll give us a lot of output. I think he would. But you see how many times are we getting caught out on that left-hand side because he's so far up the pitch, right? today, 2 of the goals came from that side
Yep.
because he's so far up the pitch that he should be tracking back, but he doesn't track back because he can't. He hasn't got the legs for it, and that's a big problem. And yeah,
He
How
doesn't
can
have
Marlon
Barcelona
see
or
it?
De Vrij behind him.
How can
Yeah.
how can
He doesn't-
Marlon see it? We see it. Everyone else see it. That he's not good enough. But for someone, they walk through those doors at Hotspur Way, and everyone seems to blow smoke up these players' asses, thinking that they're prime Cafu's, prime Maldini's, prime Maradona's, and everything else. This is what I don't understand. It is like they walk through Hotspur Way every day, and there's a Men in Black thing with the thing that erases their memories. Because that's the only thing that I can say these days. Because surely they see it. Everyone sees what we see. We don't have coaching badges. We don't have qualifications. We don't have all of this. I just don't understand how they're going to walk up. They're going to go off tonight on international duty or tomorrow, sit there with England and whoever else, have a nice couple of weeks, laugh and joke like, James Ward-Prowse is going to be sitting there laughing at Eric Dyer if he's in the England squad, going, you threw that game away, and he goes, oh yeah, I know, I'm shit, I shouldn't play football, but I'm here as well. I don't get it, man, Marlon. I don't get it. I'm lost. I'm lost, Marlon.
But there's one last thing, right? And this is where I kind of go. You have to kind of see where the club's at, right? So let's take Dele Alli, right, and everything that's happened to him, like in the last couple of days. Now, Jose wanted rid of him. Conte wanted rid of him. Nuno wanted rid of him. Poch wanted rid of him. But who kept him? Who kept him at the club to see if they... And that is the biggest issue, right? You've got to leave the football decisions up to the football people, and you leave the business decisions up to the business people. Once they can get that bit sorted, you might have a better mentality at the club. Because it's not, and that's the biggest thing. You just got to take that, and you think, if that's Dele Alli, you got Dyer, you have Ben Davis, you have all these players, Sanchez, that have been there way too long.
So, yeah, Marlon, sorry, breaking news. Conte has called the players out in his post-match thingy.
Fucking
There's
about
two
time.
things. The fans deserve much better than this team. When we play a game, anything can happen, and usually my team shows great stability and not up and down.
Come on, Conte.
Instead, if I have to compare this season, the improvement we are doing this season compared to last season, we are losing the work we did last season. I do not want to speak about the tactical. I'm talking about the spirit and the heart we put into the pitch.
I agree.
Instead, we are losing this characteristic. If you don't have this, in my experience, you can lose against these teams. Sheffield United with younger players. Today, we're winning 3-1 and feel the perception anything can happen, and we're scared. What we're seeing in these last matches, I don't like it. I'm not used to seeing this. I see a lot of selfish players. I don't see a team.
Spot on.
Frustration is not for today. It's right to tell the truth and keep the eyes open. The truth is we have to give satisfaction to our fans, and we are not doing this. We all have to take responsibility. It's happened before with other coaches. Maybe if we start to think the players have to take responsibility, it's the right moment. Otherwise, we're out of Europe. From what I'm seeing, to talk about Champions League is useless, because in this moment, we're not a team. We don't have spirit. We're not putting heart into the pitch for the badge or the sense of belonging. If we don't have this, we will finish the season really badly. It was a clear problem today, but it's the end of a cycle of bad results. The fans deserve much better than this team.
Spot on. Absolutely spot on. What do you
all
think,
I'm going to
Marlon?
say to Conte on that. All I'm going to say to Conte on that one is 2 North London derbies didn't turn up for any of them. So we knew this weeks ago. And so it's. And this is why I'm not as angry as everyone else, because after that second Arsenal game, that was it for me. I cut this season for me. I'm just going to watch it for the results. Hopefully they win. They might turn up. But that's like the game today. If they can't, this is the thing. We've had crap teams, and they've always turned up to a North London derby, right? But these players are meant to be half decent, and they literally just sat there and went, "What do we do?" And everyone will say, "Yeah, that's partly on the manager," but we've had crap managers, and we still had more team spirit and more fight than that.
What do you think about Conte saying? He pretty much said what a lot of the fans have, like some of us have said about, we've had different coaches, but the players are still to blame. Go on, Marlon.
The fans are going to blame Conte for it.
They are.
Your tactics. Why are you going defensive? This, that, and the other. And like I said earlier, you have to look at it and go, he went defensive against Southampton to protect a 3-1 lead. And you're telling me that these players couldn't do it? Seriously, they couldn't do it.
That's true.
right? No matter how bad it.
Yeah. No, go on.
Yeah,
Go on,
we didn't agree with it. We didn't agree with the tactics behind it. But you're really going to sit there and tell me they couldn't defend it? And a lot of people, I know there's a lot of Spurs fans right now that want him gone. He's out. Let him go. But then you're going to have to bring in a new manager, right? Say Poch comes back, right? Porro, might be his player. He's Romero and, the other centre-backs might not be his player. So you're going to have to spend on two centre-backs that are going to be at Toby and Jan's level, right? Which Romero is nowhere near, right? Because, he went 4-4-2 against AC Milan, got sent off because he doesn't think, yeah? Doji, like you said, we can't put that much pressure on him, right? So then you've got to look at the midfield. What about if the midfielders are not his type of players as well? Is Harry Kane going to be able to do the amount of running he used to do for Poch?
No chance.
Right, so there's no chance. So you're kind of sitting there going, what the hell? So it's a whole, if you bring in a new manager, I think it's a whole new, there's more money that's going to have to be spent as well. And we don't have patience as a fan base, all of us. And that includes me. I'm including myself in that.
See, the thing is, Marlon, I've got the patience because I've seen this too many times, the same repetitive cycle that we go through, right? So me, I'm at the point now, Marlon, where I really don't care because to be honest with you, as much as I don't like the football, if I see Conte walk out that door in the summer, right, it's only because the only way I see it, and I don't care what anyone says, they're going to use this in the media about, his family issues at home and this and that. He misses his family. That's rubbish, absolute rubbish in my opinion. He's a professional. He said so many times he wants to win trophies for this club, right? He said that he's even said himself that he wants to be here for years, but it's not up to him. He said this, but why is he not signing a contract? To me, the only thing I can see is that the club don't have the same ambition as what he wants. And if they're not going to give him that, why is a manager going to stay at a club, right, if they're only there to compete for top four? That's not what he wants. He wants trophies.
Yeah, and I think
I've got a question for both of you, actually.
Go on, Marlon. Last question, then we need to move on because there's loads of people in the back end.
Yeah. If he was backed in the summer, does he sign the contract?
No, because I don't think the way that he's come out this evening, I would be surprised if he's here by the end of the international break.
No, not this summer. Last summer. If he was backed last summer, would we be in a situation now where
I think maybe.
I personally think he would have signed that contract.
I think there's more of a chance. I think there's more of a chance.
And I think that contract would have been signed. So that kind of says to you how the summer went. And I think that's what his assurances are. And for both of them, right, because everyone's going, why is he on an 18-month contract? Both of them were trying to protect themselves from each other. Yeah. And that's exactly why we're in this situation right now.
Conte was protecting himself, and obviously Poch's 18 original deal with Paris Saint-Germain finishes at the same time.
Look,
so
I'm glad that he's come out and said this, but the worst thing about it is that the majority of this fan base, this delusional fan base, is that they're gonna think, look what he said. He's slating the players. Get him out. Conte out. All this kind of shit. And then we're gonna, once he goes, either he gets sacked or not. I don't think he's gonna get sacked. I think it'll be in the summer where they decide what they're gonna do. Yeah. And then we'll just go through another 5-year or 3-year plan with the manager not getting fully backed. They'll fail again, and then we'll be here again. We're speaking to about the next two managers.
Yeah, Marlon, we'll be here this time next season talking about the same thing. Yeah.
Mark it in your diary, Marlon.
Mark it in your diary. All right, Marlon. Big up, buddy.
Yeah, cheers, guys. Man.
Cheers, guys.
See you, man.
Big up, man. Big up, Marlon. Top. Cool.
Brilliant cool.
Right, who's next, Sammy?
Oh, another delusional person right now.
Anyway, before we get Arian on, listen, I'm going to read the next bit of what Conte said. I'm really upset because this is not the first time, and I think today I can tell you it's upset because we're winning 3-1 and 50 minutes ago, and I think you have to win. Instead, we showed this another time. Things started to improve last season, but we lost the characteristics of last season. I don't want to talk about the technical aspect. The spirit is missing. We are not a team. We're a team that everyone is thinking of himself. I don't see the sense of responsibility of the players. Now it's difficult. We're working hard with this group and to move in the right direction. We're going behind. I see a lot of negative situations and a lot of selfish situations and players that I don't like. I know the way to beat teams. In the past, I beat a lot of teams, winning teams. Now, instead, we're going behind. No one is interested in this. I have great frustration about this because me and the staff stay every day to think of a way to improve. Honestly, it's time. I have to take responsibility for me, the staff, the club, but also the players. The players go onto the pitch. I'm the coach. Okay, I take the responsibilities. The players have to take some. What happened in the last period is unacceptable, and I tried every moment to speak, to try to improve the situation and to transfer the importance to be a team and to help each other. But I'm not seeing this. Today it happened in a game. We're winning 3-1. It's in your hands, but we have to take the environment. The club and I are always under scrutiny, but the players have to take responsibility because I don't see this. In a process where you want to build something, the tactical aspect is important, but the spirit is also important. The mind has to stay focused, and despite 1.5 years, I saw much more last season. This season, we are going backwards.
Yeah. He's not wrong. And Chelsea have just scored.
And Chelsea have just scored after having about 400% possession. Look, for me, I think he signed his P45 tonight with those comments.
Well, let's hear what the next call has to think.
Exactly. What do you? Let's get him on. Arian, let's get you on. What are your thoughts? P45?
In stark contrast to the other caller, and with all due respect, I think that whole call was filled with contradictions and things I completely disagree with.
Filled with flip-flops, Arian.
One thing, just straight up, is I need to get this out of the way. I don't think anyone, Conte in or Conte out, likes these players. This group of players, I don't think any, especially the defense. I don't think there's anyone trying to advocate for these players.
League, Arian, at the moment.
Right? What do you mean? 6th worst? Oh, defense in the league? Probably. Doesn't surprise me. Yeah.
43 goals
doesn't surprise me at all. But that's kind of part of the problem. I don't think there's any excuse for any squad. I don't think there's any squad in the Premier League genuinely bad enough to go to St. Mary's, the team with the worst home record in the Premier League, and concede 20 shots. I think that is unacceptable in every single way. I don't think there is a squad in the Premier League bad enough for that, because Southampton have the worst squad in the Premier League, next to maybe Leeds United, who just beat Wolves, by the way, the team we lost to last time.
Yeah.
Right? So there is no excuse for that. These are the two worst squads in the league, and we are conceding shots to them for fun. There is no squad bad enough for that. That is 100% on the tactics and on the coach and on the approach. That is a disgraceful approach to go to St. Mary's and to play for that first 45 minutes what was horrible football, complete fluke of a goal that was created by defensive calamities worse than any we've had this season, because Southampton had Son and Porro wide open in acres of space, right? And that goal was a complete fluke, not anything to do with our attacking play. That was a complete fluke of a goal. And if we don't get that goal, God knows what happens in the second half. We probably even lose this game. So I don't want to hear anything about us scoring 3 goals, because all of our 3 goals came out of just some like Perisic getting his first goal came out of nothing. Porro's goal came out of nothing. And I'm not even gonna lie, I wasn't really watching for Kane's goal. I was on my phone. But that one probably that was a cross by Kulusevski, which was reminiscent of. I didn't see the build-up, but I saw the way it went in, and it was Kulusevski's cross with Kane's header, which was reminiscent of what we did last season. But that's 1 goal out of 3 that was kind of reminiscent to what Conte normally scores.
The fact is, Arian, that we were 3-1 up. That's the fact, right? We were 3-1
sure.
up, and I said as soon as that goal went in, I said that's game, set, and match. And and like Marlon was saying in the call before, that any manager, especially when you've had bad runs away from home. When you look at that, you're 77 minutes or 76 minutes up. You've just gone 3-1 up. You're thinking, right, we need to try and shore this up now so we don't concede. No manager's sitting there thinking, right, we're going to concede goals. So he went and thought, do you know what? Let's do it. So that you can't blame. You can blame Conte to an extent to say, yeah, we should have been more attacking and gone for it more, right? But just because it didn't work out doesn't mean it's fully his fault, right?
No, I completely disagree. I think it's cowardice to against Southampton, a team who have scored 11 goals at home. We give them the ball when we're 3-1 up because we're that scared.
But and is that tactics or is that player mistakes?
That is tactics. You just said any manager would go defensive, and we went defensive. We tried to shore up.
You just said we gave the ball away, but that's the players giving the ball.
No, not turnovers, not turnovers or poor passes or things like that. I'm saying we decided to sit back, play a very defensive, don't push forward. We didn't look like we wanted to score. We didn't look like we wanted to hold the ball. We just tried to shore it up and keep things very calm, and we weren't doing anything properly. And we've seen that this doesn't work under any manager. So if you want to say that any manager would do it, sure. But we criticized Mourinho for this because it wasn't working anytime he did it. We would constantly throw away leads. And last season, we never did this. We were killing Norwich 5-0. We were 3-0 up, secured top 4, and we scored another 2. Why? Because that's how you kill teams. And Conte said it last year against Aston Villa when we beat them 4-1. He said you have to smell the blood and you have to kill your enemy. It doesn't matter if you're 3-1 up. That's not how you play football in a top 6 team against the 20th place team in the league with the worst home record.
But what's funny is, why is it that Conte was able to get this team to do what they did back in the last season, and pretty much the majority of those players on that pitch today were the same players he had last season, right, from January? Why isn't it they're now all of a sudden they're not fighting the same way they fought last season?
Exactly. That's part of the contradiction of saying that this squad is so bad and Conte's not at fault because it's all the players. But Conte was getting not only results last season, but even in the beginning of this season, we looked like a team. And I've said this multiple times. I partially don't blame Conte for the way things have gone, because I don't think he's a bad coach. I think you can see the personal problems, which you're saying are complete random waffle, and he's a professional. I don't think he's a professional. He had 3 of his closest friends die, and he doesn't have his family next to him. That is a perfectly normal thing to not be yourself when something like that happens to you. And you can see it. Conte is not animated. Anytime you think of
He was animated
prime
today.
Antonio
Of
Conte,
course he was animated.
no, he wasn't. He was
Are
not
you
animated.
joking?
He was
Mate,
sure.
you need to,
no,
Arian,
sure.
you
You
need
can
to
say
go,
you can say he
you
was
need to go
moving.
back and see
You
how
can s-
animated he was today. He was screaming.
No.
Barry, how many times was he screaming at
No,
Longley and the players today when we weren't?
Look,
doing
he was screaming. You know, look, and
He was very animated.
there's
Any
more,
manager is screaming. Any manager.
there's
I'm
more-
not saying that he's
There's
not
more. Look,
screaming or he's not.
There's more from Conte. The problem is we've shown we're not a team. We're 11 players. I see selfish players. But we're used to this for a long time. The club has a responsibility for the transfer markets. The coaches come here and have responsibilities. And the players, where are the players? The players don't want to play under pressure. They don't want to play under stress.
Yep.
Tottenham's story is this: 20 years and they have won something. Why? The fault is only the club or every manager that comes here. Until now, I tried to hide the situation, but there are 10 games to go. People think we can fight. Fight for what? With this attitude, this spirit, this commitment for 7th, 8th place, I'm really upset.
Love it. Absolutely love it. What do you think, Arian?
Wow, Arian. What do you think of that?
Okay, cool, great. He's gonna call out the board, and I think everyone knows this. When things go bad, Conte takes everybody down with him. Is there
Good.
criticism at the board? That is fair enough. Of course, I don't think anyone here wants to advocate for the players, the defense, or the board. I think everybody, you just said, everyone has a part to play in this, and everyone's responsible. But I want to come here, and I was talking about how we are genuinely giving Conte a little bit too much leeway in what he's doing. Because also, again, you're saying if he was backed in the summer, I think he was backed in the summer. I think
He
you
was
can
not
say
backed.
you can say you can have your grievances about the center back situation. But we went all out for
Arian,
Bastoni, and
we
the
haven't
reason
signed a
we
centre
got
back
Longley,
since.
the reason we didn't get a center back was because we did not get our first choice, and this is something that you know very well yourself, and you don't, and I know you don't want to pretend to not know it here. I know you know it. We didn't buy Bastoni because we had every intent on buying him this summer. That is the fact. We had every intent on buying him this summer, and we bought Longley as a stopgap. You know this is true, right? So you can, and Conte was happy with that. And we got a good player in virtually every other position. We got Perisic, who was a Conte signing, and he's turned out to be arguably the worst of the signings we've made. Arguably, maybe barring Jet Spence. So the whole Conte signing shtick doesn't have much consistency behind it either, right? I don't want to hear anything about the backing thing, because I think he was backed to the exact extent he wanted, if not maybe a little more. We got him a 60 million attacker he refuses to use because he's stubborn. We got him midfielders, which are now unfortunately injured.
Richarlison wasn't his player. That was a club signing, mate.
I don't buy that. I don't buy
do.
that. I'm sorry. I don't buy that, because our whole criticism of Daniel Levy all of this time has been he doesn't spend money. He doesn't want to invest at all. Why would he now go and put £60 million into a player he doesn't want? That makes no sense to me for a man.
Of course, Conte's going to have his say on it. But, Arian, you know as well as I do that was not the player that he asked for. He asked for 3 other players, right, that he wanted before. And the club said they weren't going to do that because they were more money than what Richarlison was worth, right? So what they did was, and you know this as well, Arian, that they've been scouting Richarlison since he was at Watford, right? The club.
Yes, of course.
Conte was
Pochettino
not
asked
at
for
the
him when he
club
was at Watford.
he was at Watford.
I know.
So
I know.
that's a club that
Yeah.
the club have been tracking him since he was at Watford. They have wanted
That
him,
doesn't-
and
it's
it
the
was the
reason
right
that doesn't track with
opportunity.
me.
That's why they signed him.
The reason that doesn't track with me is because then you have a player like Madison, who the same thing applied. And Levy's been a fan of Madison for just as long. Why not go for him?
We
Doesn't-
know. We both know that he wanted to bring Madison in the
Right.
summer.
Okay,
Do
and
it-
he didn't because Conte didn't want him.
Correct.
So
correct.
why would he do the same for Richarlison? There's no consistency here. Conte and something else that's known is Conte spoke to Richarlison and said, "I want you to come here. I want you to play in all three positions." And Richarlison agreed, Levy agreed, Conte agreed.
Yeah, of
it was a
course.
signing. He wanted 60 million. We paid for him, and Conte doesn't use him because he's stubborn. Even though we have players like Son who are underperforming and finally now use him a couple games. We do well. He gets injured, is what it is. But we could have saved a lot of the results if Conte wasn't stubborn. Dan Juma right now in January, did he want him? I don't care. Son is underperforming. Dan Juma needs to be playing. Give him a chance. Stubbornness like this hurts everybody. You can't call players selfish. When you're so selfish, you won't use a player to improve the team just because the club bought him for you. Even if Dan Juma was a club signing, I don't care if he was. I'm not even sure if he is.
Arian,
But I don't
can I
care.
ask you a question? Isn't that basically saying, right? If he's gone on record and basically said there's certain players that are not his players or are not good enough, right? And you're basically, the club is buying players, and you're basically saying to him, well, these are the options you have to pick from. And he's going to be like, well, they're not really players I want, so why should I have to change my ways, right? Just so that I can fit in the players that you've brought into the club. That's basically saying then, that's basically telling the manager, you kind of do a little bit of what we say, right, to fit what we've brought in so that you can try and get a tune out of these players. But then why bring in an elite manager like Conte and pay £15 million a year to him if he's not going to, if they're going to bring in players that he doesn't really want to manage, or he's saying okay to, but it's not really what he wants? You might as well go and get another manager who's going to have a bit more leeway and say, do you know what? I can work with these a bit more, and who will give those type of players a go. Do you not think that's again, but back on the club for making that decision?
First of all, that's precisely what I'm calling for when I'm saying I want a coach that will do that. Second of all,
Right,
and I'm
okay.
saying Dan Juma was an example that I used because, again, the front three signings were not signings that were in a crucial position. And I used Dan Juma an example because he loaned out Brian Hill, who was performing brilliantly. And we brought in Dan Juma after he wanted to get De La Feu, which was a Conte signing. And De La Feu got injured, so he went for Dan Juma because he was available. And that is the situation that is both unlucky and maybe a little mismanaged because we had De La Feu, who Conte and Levy both wanted. We didn't get him. We got Dan Juma because he was available. And he had a brilliant Champions League campaign with Villarreal, had a great La Liga season last season. And Conte refuses to use him. I don't know if it's out of stubbornness. It probably is because Dan Juma looks like he's working one of the hardest in training out of everybody. So he seems to have the heart. And Conte can't complain about a lack of heart if he won't use the players who are working hard. That doesn't seem consistent. That seems selfish and stubborn. That's one thing with Dan Juma, which was the front three, which is not a necessary signing. You have players at the back like Perisic, who he got, who's been the worst offender in the back line next to someone like Dyer. Right? Today, 2 goals came down his side because he's horrible. He's a horrible left wing back. And you're talking about his 11 assists.
Terrible left wing back.
Almost all of them came from corners in the beginning of the season during our corner purple patch. Like 8 of them came in the first 2 months of the Premier League, where we got found out with our corner attacks have been found out we haven't scored a corner in ages because it's all crap. It's like saying James Ward-Prowse is an elite player because he can cross so well. No, he's not. He's a great midfielder, sure, because he's a Premier League standard midfielder who can hit a free kick. That's what he is. That's what Perisic is at 35. He's not been that good of a player for us. So the whole Conte signing shtick, I don't really buy. And the center back thing was the situation we were going to address this summer. And the midfielders, we provided him with some of the best midfielders in the league. So how was he not backed?
Look, in my opinion, he was not backed. There was players in that team that he said yes to, but it's not essentially the ones he actually wanted. You have to look at it as well. The club have always said this, right? Have always stood by this about opportunities when they're in the market. If there's an opportunity, they will look at it. And every manager we've had have always said, look, we're if there's an opportunity, we might get someone. If there is, there isn't, right? Daniel Levy, he said himself when he bought the club with Enoch, right, that it was an opportunity. So he's got the same mentality even before he came into the club, right? He bought Tottenham because they were an opportunity. He said it in an interview, which was only about a month ago, right? So he's been using that same mentality his whole tenure at Spurs, right? And this is why I'm saying, Arian, for me, it doesn't really matter what manager comes in, because if Conte walks out, right, I think you have a bigger problem on your hands with players like Harry Kane, the Kulus, the Romeros, maybe even the Son as well. Because if whoever comes in, whether it's Poch or Gallardo, whoever it is, right, I think they've got a massive, massive rebuilding job to do. And I personally think Daniel Levy won't. If we're not in the Champions League for like 2-3 years in a row, that manager's gone. They're out the door. You know what he wants. That's all he wants, in my opinion. I don't know what you think on it, but
There's been a super chat. Arian, other stubborn managers, Pep, Arteta, and Klopp.
oh yeah, that's true.
Other stubborn managers, Pep, Arteta, and Klopp. Okay, sure. You can.
What's in
you can
common
give
with
Pep the
all of
stubborn
those
tag.
three?
What's in common with all those? Well, Arteta has won one FA Cup, and he's currently gotten out of all of his competitions.
How has he won an FA Cup?
How has he won? Well, he won the FA Cup by. He wasn't even back then. He finished 8th that year. That was.
Yeah.
I think I don't know if you all remember. He was using Aubameyang, which is completely out of form. I mean, he scored a goal in the final for like the first time in months. So that was a completely different run, which was the winning culture at that club. That's got nothing to do with his backing. And yes, I can see. I think one thing is abundantly clear right now. There is not anyone here who's advocating for Daniel Levy's practices or anything like that of the sort. And Arteta was there for 3 years, and he's finally built a squad, and he's still yet to win the Premier League. Or he just got knocked out at the Europa League by the team we knocked out in the Champions League. So I don't want to sing his praises just yet. He's doing a great job, but it's still an unfinished season, and he's still yet to win anything. So I don't really know if Arteta's a great example. Pep Guardiola is one of the revolutionaries of the sport who's had billions of dollars worth of backing. And sure, I mean, I think it's going to be quite difficult to get billions of dollars of backing and fail. But the backing aside, like, I don't think anyone here is saying Levy's doing a good job. And Pep took years to build his teams. Arteta's taken years to build his team. Klopp took years to build his team. One problem with Conte is he's refusing to sign the contract. How can you trust the manager to build a team when he won't sign another year? That doesn't make sense to me.
It does make sense, because why would you tie yourself down if you're not going to be given the assurances that you're going to be able to build a team to challenge for a title, which is what he said.
Who says that's why he's not? No, I don't like. Here's the thing. This doesn't make any sense to me.
He said it himself. How you can't deny?
When did he say this? When did he say this?
Are you serious? Are you actually serious?
I'm very serious. You're telling me
he
just
said
said
it
I will
so
sign the
many
contract.
times that he wants to build a team.
I will sign the contract.
He wants to compete. He wants Tottenham to win trophies.
Recently?
He said it to the fans. Arian, come on, man. You got
no.
come on.
You're being ridiculous.
No,
Everything is out that he doesn't want to sign because of his family situation.
Oh, Everton
nice.
scored.
Oh, my TV's
That's
up.
good. 1-1. But Arian, if you're saying to me, hand on your heart, saying that you have not seen any Conte interview saying that he wants to win trophies for the fans, then you need to go and do your due diligence, right? And have a look at his actual interviews, right? Because he has clearly said multiple times that he wants to win trophies for the fan base, right?
Sure.
And that we deserve more.
So what's he going to go out and say?
How can you win trophies if you're not given what you need to go and do your job?
I think, okay, hang on. What you're suggesting is a little bit weird here, because you're saying Conte wants to sign, and the way you know that is because he's gone out and said he wants to win trophies. I think that's whatever. What's he gonna come out and say he doesn't want to win trophies? That's just a weird statement. Like,
but Arian, he's told us what are the club. He said, what are we? 8th, 5th, 6th, 7th? What are we? He's calling out the club tonight. He's literally calling them out, saying the same is everything he's alluding to, right? Is basically saying the club need to decide what they want, because until they decide what they want, why should he decide to sign a contract because they don't even know what they want? He's already said
You're implying the rest of that. You're implying the rest of that.
No, Arian, he has told people, right, what he wants to try and achieve at this club. He's literally told the fan base what he wants to try and achieve. But if he feels that he's not going to get assurances to bring in, have more leeway in the players that come into the club, right, and have less of the Jed Spencers come in and more players that he actually wants, right, like the Poros, because I know Porro was definitely someone he wanted, and you can see the ability of Porro. He's a top player, right, and I think he's going to be a top player. But unless you get players like that for Conte, he won't work. So then why bring him in the first place if they're not going to start a project to back Conte the way he needs to be backed? It doesn't make any sense. It's a waste of time, waste of money. It's waste of our fans' time, our emotion, and all this kind of stuff.
Anyway, Arian, final question. Is Conte still in charge at the end of the international break, yes or no? After his comments tonight.
You could kidnap Levy's daughter, and he's not gonna sack anybody because he will avoid paying the compensation fee. He's not.
That I agree with you,
He's
Arian.
not going to. He's not gonna sack him unless like he only sacked Mourinho to distract from the Super League. So like it's just it's whatever. Like he's not gonna get sacked until the end because he's not paying that compensation fee no matter what. Unfortunately, because that's just how we're run as a club. That's that. But yeah, I think it's firm. I think one thing I want to say is I think you're implying a lot of what Conte's contract intentions are through the quotes. Is he calling the board out and calling them absolute idiots or whatever because they deserve to? Of course. I don't. Again, for the 10th time, no one's advocating for the board. I don't think they've done much of anything right in the 20 years that they've owned the club. But I don't think Conte's committing to the club for a lot of reasons that I don't blame him for. This is one thing. I don't think Conte is like a sinister person. I totally understand why he doesn't want to sign the contract, but he doesn't because this guy is going through one of the toughest times as a human being in his life, and he doesn't have his family or anyone to console him, and he's living in a fucking hotel, right? Imagine if that were you.
Of course.
Right? And you can say he's a professional and that, but that is reflecting in his energy. And when I was saying he's animated, of course he's animated. He's not going to be standing still like Amorim was in the fucking penalty shootout yesterday. But what I'm saying is, you think of prime Conte, you think of like the 2-2 game with Arsenal where he was smacking the ground out of rage when they were conceding chances and they were missing goals. That is Antonio Conte animation. The ground is shaking because he's so mad. He's yelling and he's hitting things in the ground and the water bottles and he's kicking things all around. That's animation. He yells at the players for fun. That's like me speaking right now for him. That's nothing for Antonio Conte. He's not the same Conte he was in his prime for reasons that are completely understandable on a human level. That's why he doesn't want to sign. That's why we're doing so poorly. That's why I think he needs to go. Do I think Levy is to blame? 100%. I think we would have probably been in a better position than when all this stuff happened with Conte. Maybe if he did back him a little bit more, I think he was still back. But if he backed him like a shake man store would, maybe instead of falling from 4th to 6th, we would have fell from 2nd to 4th. Right? Sure, I can agree with that. Sure. But at the end of the day, I think there's a lot that Conte's doing wrong that we're kind of brushing over because of how much we hate the board justifiably, but we're still brushing over it. And I think that's something we need to bring light to. That's it.
Yeah. Chelsea just got a penalty by the looks of it. And it's all kicking off. Reece James, hang on, let me just see. Reece James has gone in.
Look, forget Chelsea.
Oh my God, that's not a penalty.
Forget Chelsea.
Anyway,
but
Arian,
I think Arian's got some good.
You make
points.
some really good points, man.
Good
Look,
points.
I don't know where we go from here. Look, I'm not saying what Conte is saying is wrong.
I love it. I absolutely love it.
Actually, I think for the first time in a long time, obviously, I guess Mourinho is very vocal. But Conte
maybe not like vocal like this.
But Conte has literally just walked in, dropped the mic, and then just walked out again.
Love it. Absolutely love it.
This is literally what he's just said.
I think the fan base need this to happen because the problem is no one calls out the board publicly when they're in a job because they're all scared they're going to get sacked.
Conte doesn't care. If he gets sacked,
he don't care.
He'll get paid off.
He don't care, and I think that's what we need more of. And it's a shame he didn't do this earlier on. But look, for me, I still think he wants to be here. I just don't think he feels he's going to get the trust or kind of level of kind of what's the word? The kind of let's just say trust that he's going to get from the board to give him exactly what he wants in terms of players. But look, we can always agree to disagree as well. So that's the whole beautiful thing in football is opinions of fans. But Arian, what a great call, mate.
Brilliant, Aaron. Love the passion as always. Come on, you Spurs.
Big up, Arian.
And as always, come on, you Spurs!
Big up,
Arian. Big up, Arian. Wow, man. So, yeah, Danny. What do you reckon? You think he's...
I don't think he's gone. No. I actually am 100% in agreement with Arian that I think Daniel Levy would rather wait until the end of the season and pay out Conte.
Either way, he's got to pay him out, right?
Well, no, if he walks, that's it.
Yeah, true. I guess he's holding out for them. I guess now it will sit there and he'll go, well,
I love it. Yeah, I love what he's done tonight. I think it's a shame more managers in the past at Tottenham haven't done that. in my opinion.
Yeah.
And I think the fans are not going to like it. They're not. A majority of them not. But that's the sad reality. Fans are going to blame Conte. Majority of them. They won't blame. Look, he is partly to blame. Of course he is, right? But the thing is, it's not all his fault. There's a bigger percentage of fault somewhere else. And if Conte gets sacked or if he walks out, we'll see what happens. Look, I know. I think I know what's going to happen. The same stuff. We're going to be sitting here in another 18 months' time from the summer, and we'll be talking about who's the next manager.
Yeah, 100%. Anyway, let's get the next caller on. I can't wait to hear what he's gonna say about Eric Dyer, because if he comes on and starts defending him, I'm literally gonna go mad. So let's go and hear what Elias has to say.
Hey man, why is it necessary you bring up that I talk about Eric Dyer of all the things that
Because you
happened
love
today?
him, Elias.
Yeah.
I love Eric Dyer. Eric Dyer loves me. I love
Because-
Eric Dyer. Eric Dyer loves me. All together now. Come on, Elias.
No, I mean, okay, the problem that I think I've said this numerous times on many channels. I don't love Eric Dyer, like really love him. That
I've got
die
receipts,
also.
Elias. I'll get the receipts, mate. Don't worry, I got the
You can
receipts.
take out the receipts. I've never said that if you have a better defender than Eric Dyer, then don't then play him. Until you don't have a better defender than Eric Dyer, he is the one that actually you rely on. Who do you want to play? You want to play Sanchez or Tanganga in there in his spot? No, they are gonna fuck up.
I'd
as
rather
he
you
fucks
played,
up.
Elias, if I'm honest, than Eric Dyer. I'd rather you played, or Danny played, or even gave me a go in the centre of defence. At least I know I was on a football pitch. Anyway, give us your thoughts, Elias.
All these fans are gonna call me out, Elias out, Elias out. If I play on that,
Go on, Elias. Ignore the comments. Most of them don't know what they're talking about. Anyway, there's Arsenal fans in there as well. So, no, I'm only joking. Only the Arsenal fans don't know what they're talking about. Yeah, but
you're
come on.
asking me something else other than Eric Dyer. What you were saying just now?
I was saying, give us your thoughts on the game.
I think the game was not that great. Like I won't say that we played really great. 50% possession on their side, 50% possession on our side. It's like a 50% sort of game. They had more chances on target than us. We had 3 shots on target, and those 3 were goals. Like all the odds are there. But I'll say one thing, that the momentum was on our side for the most of the game. Momentum was on our side, even though we were playing like just average, I'll say. But momentum was on our side. I'll say that we could have nicked that game if not for that. The one was that VR decision, that penalty. I don't understand how on earth was that a penalty. And the other one was that when they didn't give that penalty on that Hoiberg, on that Pape Matasawan, how did they give that one as a penalty? I don't understand that. Like really, 2 shocking VR decisions in like final 10 to 15 minutes. It just ruined the whole game. We could have gotten a penalty instead, not them.
What
Like,
yeah, look, two
a good
super
point,
chats.
'cause-
Two
Go on.
good chat. Let me just get these super chats in, Elias. First of all, issue is from RM13. Issue is lack of a proper idea who we want to be. Who we want to be a club that plays great football, create players we can sell, or do want to go all in, either be a Dortmund or do a Liverpool with an analytics. There you go. I got that one out. That's better. And there's one from Jory. No manager can drag us up to success.
Yeah.
We need to grow a pair, or F off and die in League One, or just sell flats. Make your choice.
Oh, he missed out the hotels as well.
Oh, yeah, he
We got
missed out the hotels.
So
But look,
when you go for a Tottenham Entertainment Day, you can do a bit of go-karting, you can do a bit of skywalk, and then you can stay in the hotel.
Mate, every time I log on, you know, like when you're talking about things and you go onto your social media and it says like, oh, it comes up with X, Y, and Z that you've been talking about or you've been searching for. Every time it comes up with this Tottenham Hotspur. Oh, what a great day out at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. For what? The football isn't a great day out.
Wait until I'm telling you, wait until we've got the go-kart, we've got the hotel there. They'll be giving you package deals for all-inclusive, like hotel, climbing
underground
wall.
swimming pool.
Yeah, exactly,
Underground swimming pool.
The diving pool, yeah, diving tank. You'll be able to pay like £300 for a dive and skywalk and a go-kart race, and then go sleep in a hotel and bugger off.
You can just hold the
Amazing.
whole Olympics there. You don't need to build an Olympic city.
The whole Olympics at the Tottenham
You can
Hotspur
actually just
Stadium.
host Olympics there.
At least someone would
Exactly
win there.
what-
Yeah.
Look, Elias,
Yeah.
at some point today, does Conte have to take any blame for today's result?
No, I don't think he
No.
has to take any blame. No.
Okay.
No, I don't agree with a single person who say that Conte has to take any form of blame, because the kind of narratives that you guys are, some these people in the chats and all around on Twitter and all that, you're bringing up that, oh, he was playing a deep back line and then he was sitting back. I mean, do you guys even know what sitting back actually means? Sitting back means that, yeah, you park a bus and then you are just trying to defend all the time. We were not defending. 50% possession on our half, 50% possession on their half is not sitting back. We were in their half for quite a long time, as quite a lot of time as well. We were just failing to score goals. We had less shots on target than them. That's not sitting back. We had shots, but we had less shots on target. Is the problem that we are not playing with accurate? We are not playing an accurate game. We are not playing a creative game where you can find spaces, where you can find gaps to score goals. That's not sitting back. So stop saying this bullshit that, yeah, we have been playing a very deep back line. We are just trying to defend when our defense is crap. I agree that, yes, our defense is crap, but I don't think that we were heavily playing like a very defensive tactic where you just sit back. Even not for, like, let's say if you tell me that, okay, maybe not the whole game, but the final 10 minutes or so, we were trying to defend. Why we put on Emerson Royale? That question is another one. I think Barry knows that people are asking, like, why sub in Emerson Royale? Those kind of questions.
No,
I don't understand.
I agree. But I think he should have, like Jory said at the start, he should have gone to the left wing back because Perisic is awful. At least we know that Emerson can defend. If we're going to defend a lead, I'd rather keep Porro on, who was arguably, apart from Forster, probably the best player on the pitch today. Why take him off? Because we've got a game in midweek. Oh, no, we haven't got a game in midweek because we're out of all the other cups and competitions. Perisic cannot defend. Yes, agreed. Up, kind of on the assists and everything else. Great, but why are you taking Porro off Emerson Royale? And you know I'd defend Emerson Royale to the hill, but that was a silly decision. So whose decision was that? That was Conte's, no?
It was his decision, but who do you expect to send him on then? Send on who should come on actually? If Porro has played like a game where he doesn't have in his legs to last a game, who do you bring on? You bring on Emerson. You have Ben Davis injured, so you have subbed in Perisic. You can't change, like, I don't know what kind of system would that be if you put Emerson on the other hand, and then you have made quite a lot of subs as well. Like most of the subs that he had to make, we are forgetting that he had to make because of the injuries that we had in the squad. He didn't make those subs. Like, it was not his first choice subs. That's another one that a lot of us are not realizing. He had to make those subs. Richarlison got injured. Ben Davis got injured. Porro kind of looked a bit shaky towards the end as well. Like he was struggling with something. So he had to make those subs, and he doesn't have enough players to come off the bench to play. Skip, he had to sub in. Was it Skip who came off for Sar, or was it Kulusevski? Kulusevski, I think.
Kulusevski, because Skip then went into Kulusevski's position on the right wing, which made no sense at all. This is what I mean about. This is what I mean about. This is what I mean about. If we were going 5-3-2, then great.
Yeah.
Bring on Sarr to go in that midfield. So you had Skip, Sarr, and Højbjerg, right? But we didn't. We kept on with 3-4-3 or 3-4-2-1. Why?
No,
why did we do that?
3-5-2. No, it's a 3-5-2.
We didn't go 3-5-2.
No, we didn't.
We didn't. Skip went into Kulusevski's position on that right wing. We stayed in the same formation.
Maybe it's, I don't know, like, but in a way, on paper it looks like a 3-5-2 to me, like, because Skip plays kind of forward towards that right line as well. But it just shows you that, yeah, you don't even have Danjuma who can come on and play as a right winger. So who do you play? Like, even if you're playing a 3-4-3, that's the risk that you have to take. You don't have a player good enough to even play in that spot.
But if you're taking Kulu off, then surely there's two other choices. There's Danjuma or there's Lucas Moura. Those are the two that should have come on, if that's the subs that we're doing. But none of the substitutions. I get Richarlison and I get Ben Davis, but if we're taking Kulusevski off to go defensive, why don't you just bring on another defender, or you take Skip off because. Or you take Skip off as well. He had one unused substitution, so you could have taken Skip off because he was on a yellow card and he'd missed a few players. I think what it comes down to is the first half when we start of the second half when we came back out, we weren't switched on. We conceded a goal. We went 3-1 up. We thought the game was done, and this is on the players. So I get the point that Conte's making being on the players, but Conte also needs to sit there and say, well, actually, Perisic is having a stinker. We've conceded 2 goals down Perisic's side. He needs to be dragged off. So we put Emerson there. We leave Porro on because he's the only one that is apart from obviously Kulu with the cross, he was the only one that looked like he could put a ball on someone's head or take a free kick or do anything like that. So we leave him on. So then if we're going to stay 3-4-2-1 or whatever, the 3-4-3 or whatever, bring Dan Juma on, bring Lucas Moore on, or try and, or if you want to just park the bus, like if that's what we're saying he should have done, then bring on, I know Sanchez isn't good enough, but bring Sanchez or Tanganga on to go in that defence and shore up that defence.
Seriously,
I think it was...
Even if he would have done that, the fans would have shit on him. Why bring Sanchez or Tanganga on? Like, you know, we hate those 2 players.
I know, Elias, but if he brought one of them on and we won the game 3-2, no one's saying anything, are they? Everyone's sitting there going, Conte masterclass. Because when Conte wins, the team wins, Conte is untouchable. When the team loses or puts in a performance like that, it's the player's fault. At what point is Conte deserves some blame for today's result. He's come out fighting in the press conference to deflect from the players aren't good enough, the players don't care, okay, it's my responsibility. But he doesn't take responsibility being the manager. If I do something wrong at work or you do something wrong at work, are you going to sit there and go, oh, sorry, it's not my responsibility, the players aren't good enough? Are you going to, or my team's not good enough? No, you're going to have to sit there and say, do you know what? Some of this is my fault. Surely.
But he has hit the nail on the head. Last 22 years, all the managers that have come in, actually, have we won anything with them? But
correct,
I know.
Elias.
But before I go into it, let me address
on.
your tactical questions. Yeah, the ones that you're bringing about the changes. 50% possession, actually, most of the time is a midfield problem. You need to make changes in the midfield so that you can take some more domination. You don't make a attacking difference, attacking change when you have a 50% possession. I think you can ask any of the grassroots level coaches as well. It's usually the midfield that you change when you have a 50% possession or all that. It makes sense that yes, he brought on another midfielder to replace another attacker. It does make sense to me, actually. Now the other one is why he didn't play Emerson at the left wing. Is a slightly tricky one. It's a good question to ask, but I think again, how many times have we seen Emerson in a situation where he has played in the left wing back position, like once or twice, when you're trying to control the midfield and you're trying to control that 50% possession, and wing backs do play a key role as well. I think in that position, you would play a player who is naturally a wing back or who plays wing back more often, which is Perisic. So I think he did the right decision. He made the right decision there as well. I could be wrong. You may have your own opinion on this, but I think to me it does make sense tactically. The changes that he made, he was trying to just control the midfield, in my opinion. He was not going for the attack. He was trying to just control the midfield there. He was not even trying to play a defensive game. When you make midfield changes, you are just trying to control. It's a controlling game. It's not defensive game either. He was just trying to do that. It makes sense to me, to be honest, if you ask me. But I know to a lot of fans, it won't make sense. Like, oh, it's going all the way into the back line again. Now, the other question that you asked about Conte coming out and criticizing the players, to a certain extent, I feel that players need to take blame. I think players do need to take responsibility as well, because there were certain decisions in the game. I was on watch along with Stel and we were discussing about it. That today there were certain passes that the players made. They looked pretty selfish. I think Conte also highlighted the fact that the players are a bit selfish. They just think about themselves. It's obvious. I think a lot of fans can realize that the kind of passes or the kind of shots, some of them that Kane took that were off the target, they were very selfish shots. He could have played that to Son. There was a shot that he could have actually played it to Skip. He didn't. He went for it. It's selfish. So if you have a clear, obvious reason that, players are not doing what they're supposed to do, which is to play as a team, footballing basics, then what do? You can't be always taking blame on yourself. And mind you, I mean, it's first time I think Conte has come and said something like that he always say that yeah, we will. He always defend the players to a certain extent. Even he has never criticized the owners directly. Even in the past, he say we as a club wish we can do better. He always talk about we. Only today he has deflected once on a player and on players and the owner, and we are actually going on him that oh, Conte is not taking responsibility. He always talk as we. He's always about we. If he's now highlighting the selfishness of the players and he's highlighting the selfishness and the lack of ambition of the owner, why suddenly jump on him rather than just taking his opinion as a valid one?
Yeah, I'm not saying that is what he's saying is wrong. What I'm saying is that I think what we all need to sit there and understand is that it's a Tottenham is either a pie or it's a pizza, right? The blame is the pizza or the pie, and everyone gets a slice. I know this is Sean Butler's saying, and I get it. Everyone's to blame. Players, manager, academy, owner, coaches, scouts. The only person is not the tea lady. Yeah, fans. The tea lady she makes a great cup of tea, so she's not included.
I don't know. Maybe she's
Leave
not
Doris
great.
alone, yeah?
Maybe she's not great.
Look, and I just think that we need to just. I get that there's people that will sit there, and and I saw what you were saying and everything else earlier, like, oh no, Conte's not to blame. This is not. Come on, we need to we need to sit there, and we're not sitting there and saying it's 50%, it's 30%, it's 100%, but he has got to take some responsibility for this result. Man City are 6-0 up against Burnley in the FA Cup. Haaland scored a hat-trick, 41 goals this season.
I said he was going to get 40 in the Premier League. Yeah. I think he will get 40 in the Premier League.
Crazy. But look, he said what he said. I think I would be very shocked if he's still here come Everton.
No, I think he'll be here. I think he will be here. I don't think he's leaving.
What do you think, Elias? You think he'll be here or not?
I think it's a really tricky situation given that now he has come up and criticized the owners, but I don't think the owners at this point would want to sack him because it's a risk for them. If they sack him at this point, then they need to make sure that the managers that they bring on guarantee them top 4 this season. Because Conte is currently sitting at the 4th spot, but it's tricky in another way as well that the 4th spot is not very safe. You have like 3 or 4 other teams who can actually take on you for that 4th spot or even the European football. It is a pretty risky situation. If you ask me, I think it's a 50% situation. It really depends. I think maybe tomorrow or in 2 days, they might have a board meeting. They would discuss certain things and maybe discuss future of certain players, discuss future of the manager. And I think it really comes down to the negotiations that they can work on. But to me, I think he would stay until the end of the season at least. And let's see what he says in the midweek conference. Like I always say one other thing as well, that the post-match conferences, usually sometimes they are very heated moments. Like you have just lost.
Elias, he was physically shouting at this post-match press conference.
I haven't watched that stuff. But it's very obvious that usually you're very hyper either, or you're just very.
I agree. When everyone, I guess when the dust settles, but look, there won't be another press conference unless he's sacked for a couple of weeks, because obviously this is the international break now. So maybe Conte thought he could say what he could say and not get away with it, but there would be less to deflect, because if there was a game coming up on Wednesday or next weekend, he's going to have to, like you said, in the midweek press conference, he'd have to say something, right? But now he's kind of like, oh, well, the players are going to go off. I'm going to work with the players that aren't selected. And then we're going to go from there, really.
They do have one post-match conference that they usually do with the club as well. I think after the game, like after 1 or 2 days, the Spurs player release one. So let's see what is there. I don't think, but that's another one. Like I don't really take that one very seriously because that's your club releasing that statement.
Yeah. I would be. I mean, I don't know. You right there, Sammy? I know Everton have just scored, so it's 2-2. Look, it will be interesting. Look, like I always say, Elias, it's never boring with this football club. Sometimes I wish it was. I think if we just go out, win 1-0 every week, and we'd have nothing to talk about, right? But I think it's the manner in which we've thrown away points. We've thrown away a chance to. Ultimately, Chelsea dropping points again today. Obviously, all the fixtures that are coming up.
They nearly scored. I was going to ask Elias, do you think Conte saying what he said today, do you think it's because he's now finally had enough and he's actually like, do you know what? fans need to understand what's actually going on. I've protected them far too long now, and it's like they're just not changing. Do you think it's that's the reason why he's exploded, or do you think it's something else?
Yeah, I've been recently saying that fans are the problem. So he's no, I don't think he's really going on to the fans in this
No.
particular conference, but he's just helping the fans realize the reality of the club. Because hardly I think we ever see managers coming out like that. The other thing, I mean, obviously, we don't realize why sometimes managers don't criticize these things openly is because they have all those media clauses added inside their contracts, the
Yeah.
defamation clause, and all. They can't openly come and say that. But I think maybe at this point he's like, if they want to sack me, like how many months are remaining? 2 more months wages. That's all. If I can't put a reality for there for like 2 more months wages, I think it's worth letting go. Maybe he's considering it from that regards, and I think that's a good thing that he has done because as fans, as a Tottenham fan base, we need to see that coming from a manager as well, that the manager does speak truth. Because a lot of times I think we have also asked this question, like why can't Conte come out and say these things and highlight these realities? Now if he has come, so let's listen to him. Yeah.
I agree.
I agree. Elias, any final thoughts?
I would just say, guys, like let's try to be a bit more calm. Let's not get on the shit wagon again, and do all the nonsense in the next 2 weeks, because the next 2 weeks are gonna be tough ones because we have just lost and all that, and uh let's try to calm ourselves, and you all need to distract yourself. There are a lot of other competitions going on. I'm actually gonna watch badminton for the next 2 weeks at least.
Badminton.
This All England Open going on. You all can watch All England Open. It's quite nice as well.
Yeah,
So
look,
yeah,
you're right. You're
let's try
right.
to do
There's other things going on. Formula One.
yeah.
All sorts of other things that we don't need to worry about.
Go
I
for the
mean,
Skywalk, the stadium. There are a lot of funny
yeah.
things going on.
There is.
Yeah, so
Obviously, we can all. I mean, obviously, we don't have Tottenham, but I mean, we have England to worry about in the
focus
next
on
couple
that.
of weeks.
Tweet on Eric
Obviously,
Dyer being selected for Indian
oh
squad.
look, we get to England get to play Italy, and then we play the Ukraine in the Euro qualifiers. So yeah, that'll be 2 losses.
Let's tweet on Maguire and Dyer now. Yes.
Oh God, yeah, Maguire and Dyer in that defence, amazing.
I guarantee you, Dyer won't play. Maguire.
Yeah, Dyer won't get Dyer won't get called
Maguire
up. Southgate's sitting there going, well, I did have my squad settled, but I don't know what I'm going to do now. So yeah. Anyway, Elias, if you want to go and get calm, go with Elias, watch some badminton, and yeah, go and or go and watch a film. Yeah, let's just try
Go
and.
for the Skywalk at the stadium.
Well, yeah, you can do if you want to. I think if I was there now, I think Conte would want to, I don't know, throw himself off, I guess, maybe. Not that, but hey, look, it's like I said, it's never boring with this football club. Elias, thank you for your call, man.
Big up, Elias.
And keep singing that Eric Dyer song every day, yeah?
I love Eric Dyer. Eric Dyer loves me. I love Eric Dyer. Eric Dyer loves me. Come on, you Spurs.
Come on, you Spurs. Oh, big up, Elias. I got him to sing it at the end. Brilliant, Elias. Look, Sammy, is that it? He's nodding. That's it. His football team's also deluded and rubbish. They drew 2-2 with Everton. So look, funny things can happen, Danny. Funny things can happen in the Premier League. Unfortunately, it always seems to happen to Spurs.
Yep.
I'm sure there's going to be a lot of content coming out in the next few days. There's still 503 of you watching now. Thank you to everyone that put a super chat in and has commented and has liked the stream. Obviously, Ben and Sim will be back. The next game, the next watch-along will actually be Ben and Sim on Monday the 3rd of April. Everton away. They've just gone and got a point at Stamford Bridge, so I don't know what to say, how that game is going to go. But Danny, any final thoughts?
I love Conte's interview. I think it is absolutely spot on, and I want him to say more stuff like this. If it gets him fired, it gets him fired, but at least he's now kind of says it how it is, and I think the fans need to wake up and actually listen to what he's actually saying. But we know what's going to happen. fans will just blame him. We'll go to the next manager, and the same shit will happen again. So, looking forward to the next manager around merry-go-round that we're going to go through.
Yeah, look, it was all looking good. 70-odd minutes in, 3-1 up, in third place, heading into the international break. And along comes Dr. Tottenham.
Yeah.
So, look, thank you all for joining us this evening. Thank you to everyone that joined us on the watch-along. Big up to everyone that came on and called in. Look, we've got a break. So let's use that time wisely, because I'm sure that roller coaster and that theme park's going to be open. Levy Land. It's like Disneyland, but you just get disappointed every week. You don't come, you think you're going to go there, and it almost turns out like Final Destination. So look, Conte is calling out the board, the players.
Everyone.
And I'm sure he'll be calling Danny out later on this evening once he's heard what he wants to say.
He'll be calling you out after watching some of those players' performances.
Yeah, exactly. So look, thank you to everyone that's joined us. Like, subscribe, and comment. And as always, come on, you Spurs.